Good evening, everybody, and thank you for watching VATV. My name is Abby Nguyen, and I'm your host again tonight. VATV is the voice of Vietnamese Americans in the greater Boston area. It is sponsored by VietAid, Vietnamese American Initiative for Development. The first half, you've already seen the first half in Vietnamese, and the second half is in English. You can watch us live every Wednesday evening from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Channel 9 if you have Comcast, and Channel 15 if you have RCN. You can also go on to bnntv.org to watch us live. And if you happen to miss our television program, it will be rebroadcast on Sunday at 5 p.m., Monday at 1 p.m., and Tuesday at 11 a.m. To call in, please call 617-708-3290. To watch any of our TV shows, please go on to our home website at vietaid.org. So for today's program, we have the nice students from Harvard University's Small Claims Advisory Services. Will you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hi, my name is Sungmin. I'm a sophomore at Harvard College, like you mentioned, studying social studies. And
I'm Willy. I am a junior. I study computer science at Harvard.
Great. So SCAS, tell me about this organization.
Sure. Yeah. So SCAS was founded in 1973, and we are basically a bunch of undergraduates committed to public service. Mm-hmm. We serve anyone, but primarily a lot of socioeconomically disadvantaged clients. We help with court procedures, legal information about small claims, but we are only undergraduates, so all we can do is basically give you the information, not actually give you legal advice, which is what lawyers do. Mm-hmm. But we are committed to helping anyone who needs help get the information about SCAS that they need, help them prepare for court, and just basically be there for them because it can be a rough process, especially because the legal system can be a little bit challenging at times, but yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, so really quickly about the name. It's the Small Claims Advisory Service. And if you don't know, Small Claims Court, it exists in almost every state. Mm-hmm. In Massachusetts, it has actually one of the highest small claims limits in the entire country. But if anything that you want to sue for under $7,000, you can sue for in Massachusetts Small Claims Court instead of civil court. So that's a distinction. There's civil court, which is what you see on TV with like the jury and the judge and like a lawyer, and you have to be like really ready for court. Yep. Small claims court is a lot more informal. It's supposed to be a lot faster and a lot cheaper. And you should be able to cruise through. Now, we all know that's, as Sungmin was saying, that's not always the case. And sometimes it can be very complicated. Especially for individuals, usually it's the first time that they've ever had to run in with the law, that they've had to go to court, that they've had to present their case. So what we really try to do is we try to provide as much information as possible for people going to small claims court. Gotcha. So hence we have the Small Claims Advisory Service.
Gotcha. So you said run in with the law, but it's really a person suing another person, right? Or a person suing a company, a public company, a private company, but not any government agencies, right? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's still like civil cases. Mm-hmm. So a case between like two individuals or me and like a private party. I can't sue the government, and the government can't sue me. So it can't be like I stole something and I'm being prosecuted by the state.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So I guess one of the important things is how do people reach out to you if they need your help?
So we have office hours every day of the week. So basically, if you just call us at 617-497-5690, you can pick up your phone call, or if we're not there, you can leave a voice message. We try to get back to you as soon as possible. And so we have a lot of over-the-phone help, but we also have in-person help on Saturdays. Okay. And this happens throughout the year. Sometimes we're more responsive than other times just because we are students and we're not there during the summer. But starting from like mid-June in the summer, we're always available to help.
Okay. So you said that you want to help socioeconomic communities that are in need, but some of these community members, like our community in Dorchester, where it's a high variety of Vietnamese, Haitians, Brazilians, but some have language barriers. Is there something that you guys, are there interpreters, or is there something that you guys can help with language barriers?
Yeah. So it's also really interesting if you think about just the situation of the organization is we are college students.
Yep.
So, every 4 years we have this transition period. So you have, in some degree, like a small inconsistency in what it is that we provide. But what we usually have is we always have Spanish speakers who are available.
Okay.
That's our biggest language that is not English that we help. And then this year we have 2 Vietnamese speakers. We have a lot of Chinese speakers, Korean speakers who are able to help. And we have a brochure with like basic questions and FAQs in a ton of different languages, so like Portuguese, Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, etc. And it's all on our website.
Good.
And that website is masmallclaims.org. So, and if you search Massachusetts small claims, I believe we're the first hit on Google. It's very helpful, yeah.
So you guys said that you're students and you volunteer. Are there any costs to calling you guys and trying to see if you can help me with small claims?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then how do you guys keep up with operations and whatnot?
Yeah, this is great. Actually, so Harvard has an umbrella organization for community service called the Phillips Brooks House Association, and it runs almost purely on donations and their endowment. And we get a small portion of that. But if you think about it, like, we don't have a ton of costs. We use an office from the Phillips Brooks House, which has a building. We pay for this phone line every year. We pay for the internet every year. We pay for hosting. But otherwise, we're just students. And we self-train ourselves. The older students train the younger ones. And that's how we have this onboarding process.
That's fantastic community service. So when we're talking about the costs, I guess, if I had a small claims potential case, I'm going to be worried about what's it going to cost me.
Yeah.
So can you kind of go through the process of what I have to do to prepare in the middle and then after, and if any in between is going to cost me anything?
Sure. Yeah. So I think this is the most common questions we have of small claims court, and the thing that we can really help the most with. So again, we're not lawyers, we're not law students. When it comes to like specifics of certain laws, we're like totally unable to help in certain cases. And we're legally not allowed to give advice either. What we can do is provide information. And so, what we try to help the most with is like these procedural issues and procedural questions that people have with court. And we can sort of craft what the like day of court is going to look like for someone and tell them like small tips.
Yeah.
So we actually have this is very common. So we have like sort of a set thing that we tell people. So before the trial, if you are the one doing the suing, we suggest writing what's called a demand letter. And this is like 60% of this is a totally random number, but I'm guessing somewhere around 60% of cases that we have are resolved by demand letters. And the concept of a demand letter is like, you want something. This other person is not responding to what it is you want. You've called them a number of times. You've talked to them in person a number of times. And now you are ready to think about going to court. But before you go to court, you should send them a letter. And you should send this letter through first class regular mail and return receipt requested mail. And the letter should have a few parts in it. The first part, so this is a pretty standard document. The first part is an explanation of the events. So X person said they would give me Y, and I did not receive Y. Or they owe me money for something, and they did not give it to me. So so the first explanation in a chronology of the events, or what happened. The second is a demand. So I want my money back. Or I want you to give me my item back. Or something. And then the last thing, and this is the key part, is a statement that if your demand is not met within usually 30 days, you will file a suit against that person in small claims court. Yeah, and the reason we ask people to send this letter, it's actually not, so it's not required before you go to court to send it, except for a subset of cases called consumer law. It's the technical term is Chapter 93A consumer law. Most of the time, we recommend this letter anyways. And what it does is it really, it warns the other person that you mean business and that you're actually going to sue them. And if you do end up going to court afterwards, it shows that you try to make a good faith effort of resolving this issue outside of court. Because even the first question that clerk magistrates will often ask when you come in is can't you guys figure this out yourselves? And that's like a general rule of thumb. So yeah, so that's demand letter. If they respond and if they resolve the issue, you're done, you're good. And most of the times, the demand letter does resolve it, and you're good to go.
Interesting.
But then if that doesn't work, you have to file a lawsuit, and you go through with like a few month process, which is something we can talk about more.
Is there a lot of paperwork to filing this lawsuit other than the demand letter?
Not really.
Okay.
The application is pretty simple. You just you can find the application, I think, online or in the court itself. And
you can find it online, but you have to go to court to get it.
right.
It's like, or you can like ask them to mail it to you. You're not actually allowed to like print it off yourself. And send
Really?
it. Yeah. It's like
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you do all of that. You do the application process. You basically set a date, and that takes a little bit. And after all of that, you go to court, right? And the court process, I think a lot of people have a little bit of an intimidation about, a little bit of fear, just because it is court. But small claims, it is the people's court, and it's supposed to be a little bit. It's definitely supposed to be more informal and less pressure. So basically, there has to be at least 3 people there. So you yourself, whether you be a defendant or a plaintiff, basically the person that's suing, and then the other party, right? Whether it be the defendant or the plaintiff again, and then there's the third person, the clerk magistrate, and you just you all just sort of sit down.
So
there's like
right?
right now, and you just basically go through like the process where, if let's say I'm the plaintiff, right? I will present my evidence and my arguments, and afterwards, the defendant will have a chance for him or her to say his or her share, right? Basically, that person's, let's say you'll defend against me, so you'll just present your evidence, your arguments, and then the clerk magistrate, Willy, Willy will basically ask us any questions if we have any, and this is like a time for us to just have a conversation and basically figure out, like what is the right way to sort of go about doing this. And ultimately, the clerk magistrate will either make a decision at the moment, and you just sort of go home and you figure that out, or basically the clerk magistrate will give a decision, or later on you'll receive a letter with with the decision and like how to go about doing, paying for whatever demand was made.
And I think that latter one's actually more common. So clerk magistrate will say, now that I've seen all the evidence, I'm going to go back and think about it for some period of time, and I will usually mail you within a week the judgment. And then once you get the judgment, and this is, in many ways, this is the bane of small claims court. This is like why it doesn't always work the way it should. But it's like the collections process is very, very difficult. Once you get the judgment, automatically a payment hearing will be set for 1 month after your original trial. And the goal is for the payment to happen. So like if now you owe me money, the goal is for you to have paid that money before the payment hearing. Oftentimes it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for a number of reasons. One, like you might disappear. 2, you might say that you can't pay it for some reason. If you're bankrupt, if you are on social services, or if you have aid of some kind. And a multitude of reasons why you couldn't pay. So when you come into the payment hearing, you explain yourself, you bring your finances, and you explain that. And usually the clerk magistrate will help set up a payment plan over a long time. So those are like the 2 points. And then sometimes like you might just not show up to the payment hearing without having run away. In that case, there's a series of like procedures I can undertake to try to like collect money from you, like put a lien on your property.
Wow.
That's a separate world. It's very difficult, but in many small claims cases, that's what it ends up going to. And it gets very complicated from there, but we'll spare that.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I hope I don't go to small claims court. But
it's difficult.
But even then, you can call us. We can help you out.
well, so leading into that, I guess, so where I get back to reaching out and this, marketing and networking. So how have you been able to reach out to the communities, and which communities?
Sure, yeah.
The demographics that you might cover.
So I happen to be part of the outreach committee of SCAS.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what we do is outreach. This past semester, actually, we've been talking to different communities in the area. One of which is like the Bosnian community. We've also had a lot of interaction with Chinatown in Boston. We actually had like an office set up there for a long period of time, which it's not happening now, but hopefully we'll get a chance to restart that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we also in the future we're looking to have workshops in local areas so that we can get more word out.
Sure.
This is part of that process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. So, I guess, what is the difference between civil and small claims? Well, so the amount that you
Yeah,
said.
so the amount you can sue.
But I guess, what if the defendant shows up with an attorney?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so here's another common misnomers. You don't have to bring a lawyer to small claims court,
Yeah.
but you can bring a lawyer to small claims court. And if you're an individual trying to sue a company, oftentimes the company will bring a lawyer either way. And so it's very difficult to navigate this against a lawyer. You're not required to bring your own lawyer, but oftentimes if they have a lawyer, it's very difficult for you to win your case yourself. And the connection in the end, the connection is that if you're the person doing the suing, i.e. the plaintiff, if you lose your case, you're not allowed to appeal it any further. And part of this is because small claims is set up to be sort of this layer that relieves some burden on the civil courts. It's like run by clerk magistrates, it's faster, and that it's supposed to help the civil court in that sense. And so if you decide to go that way, you shouldn't be allowed to appeal. But if you're a defendant and you lose, you didn't choose to go to small claims court, so you can still appeal after that. Yeah.
Good. So we only have a few minutes left. I guess maybe just review some ways that the community can contact you guys and any good websites or how they can go about it if they have any small claims issues.
Yeah, so you can call us at any time at 617-497-5690. You can also find us online at masmallclaims.org.
Sure.
And basically, we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Sure.
And yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Willy and Sungmin.
Yeah.
It was great to meet you guys, and
Thank you. Yeah.
I hope your phone does ring,
Hopefully, we'll be
but
waiting.
not for me. So once again, thank you for watching VATV. Any questions, comments, or contributions, please call us at 617-822-3717 or email us at vatv@va.org. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.